1, 2,
Welcome to the Mental Reps podcast, featuring your host, Brian Wright.
Tell us a little bit about ZETA, when you started.
Our guest this episode is longtime South Florida radio personality, Toast.
I got down here in 96 and promptly started taking classes over at the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale, which no longer exists. My first teacher was a woman by the name of Gina Hartley, ends up now going by Gina Castronovo. So that was my in. They say it all about who you know. Yeah, so I've known Paul's wife longer than I've known Paul.
This week's episode is sponsored by the Field Irish Pub and Eatery, a little piece of island in South Florida.
So it came down to listener vote. Two options were, we're going to call this kid Toast, we're going to call this kid Pop-Tart.
As well as elite sanitizing services, keeping South Florida clean and in business.
My on-air name was going to be Greg Steele. I get the internship at ZETA. My program director's name is motherfucking Greg Steele. So now I'm Toast, and I got nothing to change it to.
Motherfucker.
So 20 years later, I'm still fucking Toast.
Now fade out that fresh-ass beat, and let's get this bitch on the road.
What is up, Mental Reps fam? I am Brian Wright. I hope you're happy and healthy, and I am just super grateful for all of you. If I could, I'd give every single one of you a big ass hug from the bottom of my heart. Cannot thank you enough for giving us a chance and sharing with your friends. We keep growing, and it's all because of you guys. You can go to mentalreps.net. You'll find everything Mental Reps related there, including new Mental Reps merch, links to all the social medias, same for the streaming sites, all the info on how you can contact the show, as well as details on upcoming events like our live podcast coming up at the Field October 26th. I'll be joined by none other than the Hot Rod Man himself, Mr. George Orr. I'll also be joined by a very funny comedian, voiceover artist, and a friend of the show, Paulie McPaulson. We'll all be there taking some questions from the audience, giving out some gift cards for the Field, some Mental Reps shirts and face masks, all that good stuff. We're going to play some games with the crowd, get you all involved. It's going to be a ton of fun. So I really hope that you guys can join us and enjoy the spectacle on October 26th at the Field Irish Pub and Eatery. Again, all the info at mentalreps.net. My guest today is the co-host of the Paul Castronovo Show on Big 105.9, as well as the host of the Orange Bowl Boys. Great podcast. If you're a Miami Hurricanes fan, you'll love those guys. We didn't get into it, but I was briefly an intern for Paul and Ron after they got to Big, which is where he got his internship when they were still at 94.9 ZETA, and the rest, as they say, is history. He's been mostly on the air in South Florida ever since. He's done some sports radio here and there, but recently returned to mornings with his old buddy, Paul Castronovo. I had seen him around back in the day, but didn't really meet him until I got to Intercom about 5 years ago. I was working on Light and the Beach while he was doing mornings on the Shark. We were always on different shifts, pressed for time, but whenever we did get a few, always had some good conversation. He has a wonderful wife, which we talked about, been very active in the community for almost 25 years. He's just a huge part of the landscape here in South Florida radio, so I can't wait to share our chat with you. But first, like a morning dew on a spring day, you can always count on South Florida's authentic Irish Pub and Eatery, the Field, official sponsor of MRP, and I got them to hook you up with a sweet deal. All right, listen, living in strange times, man. Either you don't give a shit and you're out there dick first, or you or someone in the family is at risk and you're not trying to risk it. Either way, I get it. But if you're one of the latter, yet still want a piece of that sweet, sweet field action, just go to thefieldfl.com, enter code word REPS20 for 20% off your entire online order. It really is a little piece of Ireland right here in South Florida. Full bars, Jameson, the best damn Guinness I've ever tasted on tap. Smithwick's, Irish car bombs, authentic Irish American cuisine. You really sitting there telling me they don't got you covered on some shepherd's pie? Of course they do. As well as the corned beef, the cabbage, the Irish tato soup, my favorite, the Irish dip, but they also have steaks, chops, fresh seafood. They got some vegan options, so no matter how picky you are, they got you covered like a Jimmy hat, all right? Live music, 5 nights a week. Real Irish music, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And if you're staying in, no problem. Again, just go to thefieldfl.com and enter code word REPS20 for 20% off your entire online order. Also, here's another great company
run by amazing people. If you're looking for local sanitizing services here in South Florida, call ESS Elite Sanitizing Services. They're state licensed and insured, offering local sanitizing services, which kill 99.9% of all the bacteria and viruses, including COVID-19. They actually provided their services to the field. Again, super safe and clean. If you need to keep your property, employees, customers safe and virus-free, let them help keep you in business, keep your employees working. They offer services for schools, churches, medical facilities, offices, aircrafts, yachts, public transportation, restaurants, gyms, homes, vehicles, and a lot more. It's kind of like you're running them through a big Purell machine. And now they're offering free sanitizing to vehicles of all first responders and medical professionals, which I just think is like a really cool thing for them to do. So please give them a call, 1-800-763-4299. Visit them at elitesanitize.com or email them at info@elitesanitize.com. Elite Sanitizing Services, keeping South Florida safe and in business.
All right, we paid some bills. It's go time. You've heard him on the radio forever, but I don't think you've ever heard him quite like this. Please enjoy till the end. It's a really good one. Here's my chat with the great Toast.
Welcome to Mental Reps Podcast. I'm Brian Wright. I'm joined today by an old coworker and a pillar, South Florida radio. It's Toast, everybody. What's up, brother? How you doing, dude?
How are you, man? How's everything going?
Everything's going good, man. Why, was that too much? The pillar of South Florida, is that too much?
I don't think I'm I don't believe I'm the pillar of anything, but you want to go ahead and say that, that's fine. I think the most accurate thing was there that we've been co-workers.
Yeah, well, you are one of the pillars of South Florida radio, man. Don't sell yourself too short, brother. Come on. You've been down here doing your damn thing for
I
years.
appreciate that.
How's the wife, dude?
I have. The wife is doing excellent. Listen, I'm rather fortunate. Way too many of our friends are not in radio right now. So I'm very fortunate that I still am right now, hanging on by the skin of my teeth. But yeah, I mean, listen, everything's going cool. Wife has a hair salon that's not going very well in 2020 since the pandemic, so that sucks. So we have felt that hit like everybody else, but we're surviving.
Yeah, man. I know there's a lot of
How about
people.
you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Just hanging in there. I know that, like you said, there's a lot of people having a tough time right now, and I'm just trying to be grateful, like trying to keep that grateful mindset. So, because it could be a lot worse. And it sucks to hear that about your wife, because I know we only met once, your wife and I, at Riptide back in the day, and we ended up having this like 40-minute long super deep conversation about life and energy.
Yeah, she's good like that. Yeah,
dude,
she's good like that.
Such a deep fucking awesome conversation, and she's so cool. We're vibing out, and it was really cool. We spoke for a while, and that was the last time, but I do remember her saying that she was a hairdresser. So yeah, they're having a tough time right now, huh? Them in the barber shops and anything you got to be up close.
Yeah, it's brutal.
That sucks. Yeah, wish her all the best.
The restaurants, everything. There's so many. Look at how about the people that work the concert venues? I mean, it's brutal. It's brutal. So many folks have lost their gigs. You can't even wrap your head around it. So many things that were normal that just aren't happening now. And until you think about it, oh my God, all the movie people.
Yeah,
like the movie theaters, all those kids.
I know.
None of them have jobs. It's not like there's other people hiring.
Dude, I know.
Hey, join the club. No one's got a job. Yay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, dude. Even
are you with are you with the field?
Dude, I love the fact that you asked that question. No, I'm not. This is the green screen. Are you
I figured it was, but that's the field, isn't it?
This is the field. It sounds like there's a bit of delay.
Yeah.
You're having a hard time hearing me like let me see. Let me make sure that the delay is on here. But yeah, dude, I love that you asked that, man. Yeah, no, this is the field, and they're sponsors of the show now, and they're good friends. The owner, Hillary, and the GM, Jay, just like really fucking salt of the earth, amazing people. You've been to the field, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's how I knew. Yeah, I haven't been there in a long time, but that place is legendary. You walk in there, and the floors creak. It's just awesome. It's just filled with history and attitude, and all you want is to sit next to the bar and have someone just tell you the stories of stuff that's happened there, because stuff has happened there.
Fuck yeah, dude. I love that you said that. Yeah, man. I've been doing, I just did my first live podcast there with Brett Ernst and Rashad Butler, which I don't know. I think he was working at 790 maybe when you were still there. Anyway,
Okay.
Rashad Butler, good man. He was a offensive lineman for our Canes, man. And he was there. We had a great one. And you know Hot Rod, George Orr? You remember old Hot Rod?
No.
Okay, so there's this guy,
No.
Hot Rod. His name's George Orr, and he's a Rod Stewart impersonator. But he never wanted to be. He just happens to look and sound exactly fucking like the guy. And he's been performing down here in South Florida for years, but he's like got this crazy background. He used to be a photographer, but he also was like a martial arts champion. He used to teach like the marshals, like the air marshals after 9/11, how to defend themselves against terrorists and shit.
Oh,
He's got
wow.
this crazy background. So I'm having him and Paulie McPaulson, this local comedian down here. We're going to do another live podcast in a couple weeks. So you're welcome to come down, man. We'll pop open another mic for you.
Nice.
But yeah, dude, it's been too long, man. So like, catch me up. How you been doing during this whole fucking pandemic, man? I know everybody's taking a little bit differently. How you been doing?
Well, so the pandemic for me started last week of February, so a little bit earlier than everybody else. So the reason why that happened was everything was kind of, you remember those like that last week of February, first week of March, it was like every day the news was changing. And every day it was getting, oh my, this is like getting worse. It was like, oh my God, like things we never had shut down. They might actually shut things down. And so a buddy of mine who used to work with me at ZETA back in the day, a guy named Adam Cole, who does radio in the United Kingdom now, in Manchester.
Okay.
And he was coming over just on a prearranged vacation already. He was going to come over here for a couple of months to spend a couple of months over here, get away from the family and everything, all good. Then the pandemic thing hit. So he was literally on the last flight out of the UK that was allowed to come into the United States before they shut down. They locked it all down. And we'd already made plans that he was going to swing by my house from the airport to say hi and to grab something. And so he comes by, says hi, we hang out for about 40 minutes or whatever. He never even sits down. I never even touch him. We like, he was at the inside the foyer of the house, and I was like 15 feet away in the dining room area, and we're just chatting. I'm leaning against a table, and then he leaves, and that night an email comes out from the CEO of iHeart saying that if you have come into any contact with someone who just got off commercial air flight from Europe, you need to notify your supervisor immediately. So I'm like, oh, son of a bitch, this is going to turn into a thing. And so I call my boss. I'm like, hey, so dude from England just left my house. He was on an airplane. And they're like, okay, well, guess what? You're not coming to work for the next 14 days. You're in quarantine. And before I could go back, the day I was going to go back, they sent everybody home. So we've been broadcasting from home since March, which I love. Listen, I'm an introvert. So please, I understand that over 200,000 people have passed away. I know someone that has. It's friggin' awful.
Yeah.
All of that said, this has been right up my alley in terms of a lifestyle.
Yeah,
like
dude.
this is how, like, I'm good with people only seeing me virtually or in person every 6 months or so.
Yeah.
It's like, so this is like, yeah, I could do this for a long time, Brian. I could do this for a long ass time. My contract's up in March. I'd love for that to, like, he works from home from now on.
Dude.
Like, I could do this forever. Like, and listen, dude, here's what folks don't realize is that, at least when you're doing morning radio, your schedule's so whacked out, man. It's like no one else has that schedule. So, and you want to be able to talk about stuff that happened the night before, but you can't because you got to go to sleep. So then you don't. Instead, what you do is you sleep in 2 shifts. So I'll sleep for 3 or 4 hours in the afternoon so that I can stay up until midnight or whatever, and then only sleep 3 or 4 hours at night. So it's like in 2, but that's not healthy for you.
No.
With the pandemic, dude, I can stay up until like 11:30 and then sleep until like 5:40, 5:45. I don't have to drive in anywhere. And it's just, dude, I'm having a more normal lifestyle. Like I'm like, oh my God, I'm living like a normal person for the first time in 2 decades. So again, I understand that there's been a lot of hardship and folks are dead, but for me, I could get used to this lifestyle,
dude.
this new way of living.
That's so funny, man, because I know like anybody who hasn't done that shift in the morning where you got the alarm set for like 3:15, 3:20. You gotta
All the
get
alarms though.
oh,
I got
dude.
all the alarms, dude. I would set them up. They would start at 3:30, and they would go until like the emergency alarm would be 5 p.m. I mean 5 a.m. If that one hits,
Yeah.
oh my God, you're so
No
overslept.
shower,
But
just
yeah,
haul
like,
ass out the door. Yeah.
oh no, yeah. But yeah, you hit snooze at least 3 times because it's so like waking up in the middle of the night, waking up at 5:45. People are up at 5:45.
Yeah.
People that
Yeah.
got to have kids and whatever. Nobody wakes up at 4 o'clock.
No, you're in the middle of REM sleep, dude. And it's always like
Yes,
if you're trying to get yourself in that schedule where it actually works out. Like, and like you said, it's fucking impossible. It's impossible because by the time that you get home, I remember when I was over at iHeart, I was doing a split shift there at TTWN downstairs. There from 5 until 9, I'd come home and I'd go back from 3 to 7. And I did that for a minute.
Oh, that's brutal.
I did that for a minute and it fucking sucked, dude. It sucked. They finally moved me to a 5 to 1 and it got like a little bit better. But even then, like I remember I had roommates at the time and I'm like, it's like midnight and they're all partying and shit. And I'm like that old dude who's like, you guys need to quiet the fuck down. I got to wake up at 3:30. And they're like, who the fuck? Get the fuck over yourself, dude. It's like, hey, you don't have to wake up at 3:30, motherfucker. It's like a real life thing that happens where it's just like, I'm different, dude. Like, I'm different. I can't function like the rest of you.
No, it is. Yeah, you explain it to people, and they're like, "Oh, wow, that's early," but you don't understand what it is because you never get used to it. Your body never gets used to it. You just accept it as your reality, and that's why I mean, so I don't set alarms on Saturday morning or Sunday morning. I will wake up when I wake up. Like, I am not, and I will. And my other issue, Brian, is that I am by nature I'm a night owl. So when I'm on vacation, I will instantly revert to I'll be playing video games from midnight until 5:30.
Yeah,
and then going to bed at 6 and waking up at noon. Like that's my ideal. When I did afternoon drive on ZETA back in the day with Struber, that was the 3 p.m. until 7 p.m. shift. It was the ideal shift. It was a caramel sundae of a job. Just with the whipped cream and everything. Oh, that was the perfect day part for me. And and that didn't last nearly as I would have loved for that to just be my career. Afternoon drive. Oh my God.
Dude, I remember you kind of started at the Shark at nights, right? Well, actually, before we get into that dude, I love talking about ZETA, man, because that was like, I mean, everybody who's in South Florida grew up down here. If you're like a rock fan, I mean, that was it, dude. I mean, growing up, ZETA was the station that was like hip and fucking like, oh, that's my station, that's my crew. I got Paul,
mid-90s, early 2000s. It had like a 10-year run.
Omelet, Kimba, Julie, everybody there. And so tell us like a little, for anybody who doesn't know, tell us a little bit about ZETA, when you started, which I think was like back in the late 90s, right? Over at ZETA. And Paul was handing out the morning, like the names, omelet, toast. Like, tell us what it's all about.
All right. So I got down here in 96. And promptly started taking classes over at the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale, which no longer exists, because they had a broadcast program. There were a few schools down here that had legitimate radio broadcast programs. None of them exist anymore, as far as I know, outside of Miami Media School, which is a new one, and
Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting. But so my first teacher was a woman by the name of Gina Hartley, who ends up now going by Gina Castronovo. So that was my in. They say it all about who you know. Yeah. First person I knew down here, my first teacher. So I've known Paul's wife longer than I've known Paul.
Wow, that's cool.
I was her student. Yeah, I was her student, and I told her that I wanted to get an internship on a radio show. Oh, well, my boyfriend does the big morning show down here, and one of my old students is his producer now named Omelet. Let me get you an interview with them. I'm like, absolutely. So I go in the day I have my interview with Omelet. So, I have long hair and it's in a ponytail. So no one down here has ever seen me like that except for Omelet that one day.
Oh God.
He goes ahead and says, yeah, you know what, dude, Omelet's a freak show. So he's like, yeah, dude, yeah, man, you're hired. You're my intern. You start tomorrow. And so I went home. I shaved my head bald. So I'm like, I'm not, going to be going out with like that bald, long hair look. That's just, not a good look.
I never saw it. I only heard about it.
So the late 90s, every active rock station needed to have a bald guy with a goatee. So that's me right there, man. I am that guy.
Yep.
So became an intern on the morning show. And very early on, once they realized you're going to stick, they decided they're going to give you a name. Now, back then, the show used to have a nickname, the Rock and Roll Breakfast. So they would nickname all their interns after breakfast food. By the time I joined the show, they were no longer called the Rock and Roll Breakfast, but they kept doing the intern breakfast food thing. And actually, I was the very last intern that got that moniker. So it came down to, it was a listener vote. Two options were, we're going to call this kid Toast. We're going to call this kid Pop-Tart. And listeners voted. And so I had my fingers crossed that it was going to be Toast. However, in hindsight, part of me wishes it was Pop-Tart, because then I could have promptly dropped the Toast and just been Greg. So here's the funny thing. When I came down here to be on radio, I always wanted to be on the radio. I turned my sister's playhouse in the backyard into a mock radio station with a mock antenna with like a wire and a pole, and I had it with a turntable and a CB radio with the rubber bands around the thing to hold it, so it was always broadcasting out. And I would play records to CB guys out there, and I would do mock weather reports and sports reports, all from my sister's playhouse. So all I ever wanted to do was be on radio.
Sick.
And up there, my inspiration was, there was a Marconi winning local news guy out there who in Hartford that did morning radio for years, did the school closings and everything. His name was Bob Steele, God rest his soul. And my name is Greg, and my on-air name was going to be Greg Steele. That was going to be my on-air name. I get the internship at ZETA. My program director's name is motherfucking Greg Steele.
Dude.
So now I'm Toast. And I got nothing to change it to.
Motherfucker.
So 20 years later, I'm still fucking Toast.
I was going to ask you about that. If you were happy about Toast, or if you were like, fuck this. Why am I? No, not even a little bit.
Listen, and it's cool. It's cool. I mean, initially it was all about being,
hey, it could
breakfast
be Pop-Tart.
food. Obviously, then it
could be Pop-Tart, dude. I mean,
right, exactly. Pop-Tart would have been worse, but Pop-Tart, that meant I would have changed it. I would have been able to break free of it.
Yeah.
But Toast at least morphed into away from the breakfast mood, more into a state of mind.
Yeah.
That sort of. But still, I'll be honest, and my current boss knows it, and Paul knows. I mean, I legitimately hate the name Toast.
That's
if I could change it tomorrow, if I could go on the radio tomorrow as Greg, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Dude, that makes me think about who else.
But after 20 years, you can't just do that, I don't think.
Why not, dude? You can do whatever the fuck you want, bro.
I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, I guess that's something.
As I said, maybe that's something for the contract.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, stay at home. I'm able to be called Greg now. Just leave
Greg,
me.
yes.
Yeah. I love it, dude. That's so funny. So yeah, man, the Halloweeny roast, ZETA Fest. And by the way, like I said, there's a delay. I can tell that you're not hearing me until about 2 or 3 seconds after I speak. So just so you know, I'm sorry if I interrupt you and you hear me. I'm
all good.
Trying to make sure that I don't do that. But yeah, dude, ZETA Fest, Halloweeny roasts, all those I mean, it really was like a community. You still have that down here with certain stations and everything, but I think still to this day, at least in my lifetime, that was another level of interaction between the DJs and the listeners and the concerts and the whole thing. It was just it was sick. I still have ZETA shit up on my wall and stuff. I think it's I don't know. It's important to remember that and also tell other people about it, because it's, being radio guys, I don't know, maybe I'm a little too nostalgic about it or whatever, but that shit meant a lot to me, growing up, it influences you. Was one of those obvious stations that made me want to get into radio and voiceovers and shit. So I tell Kimba and Julie and everybody, I'm like, dude, thank you for those days. And I want to remind you guys how much those meant to everybody down here listening, because people think we hear that shit all the time, adulation, how much people fucking love us, and every once in a we'll hear it, but not quite as much as people think, I think. And when you get hurt and when you hear that, like, wow, you really touch people's lives or something, man, that hits. And I know that, like, I just like to try and remind motherfuckers every once in a while, like, dude, you were a big part of everybody's life down here. That's why I called you one of the pillars of South Florida radio, because you've been fucking doing it for a minute, bro. Been doing it for a fucking minute.
Yeah. Yeah, I have been, and it's been. I mean, and you're right. I mean, ZETA was a special time. I mean, I had just gotten to South Florida. I knew nothing about South Florida. I was kind of thrown, immersed into this world of this station. I mean, it was the peak of Seattle grunge rock. I mean, they were at their peak powers between the bands coming out. We had a ripping local music scene down here that was just. I mean, there were bands that got signed that unfortunately didn't end up making it. I mean, that's a whole nother story, but you wouldn't believe the amount of the Culture Room on any given Friday, Saturday night just would have 3 or 4 local bands that would be destroying the place, would be literally tearing down the ceiling. And it was just, and now you hear that now, you're like, what are you talking about? There's no rock scene down in South Florida. Someone's like, yeah, it happened. It existed. And it was phenomenal. And I'll tell you what the cool thing is, Brian, is that at the time we knew, you could tell just how sick it was and how much everyone loved the station, because just going out and our parents, like, I drove at a gas station and 50 people would show up. So it was for a 2-hour gig for like Miller Lite. It was ridiculous. But the biggest thing is that even now, 20 years later, people will still come up to me, bro, ZETA, dude. It was all about, and I think that's the fact that they still remember. I don't remember half the radio stations down here 20 years later that are no longer around. Yeah. Folks remember ZETA. They just do. They remember that logo. They remember the bus thing with the guy with his head up his ass. They remember that stuff, and they remember Paul and Young Ron. Listen, say what you will, most successful morning show this market has ever had, hands down. Not even close. And there's been other good morning shows. Neil Rogers did mornings for a little bit down here. Herman and McBean did mornings for a long time before Paul and Ron. They were the big show, but no one has achieved the level that they did. And also in that time, and I mean, we were going head to head with Howard Stern. He was on Big. We were on ZETA.
Yeah, that's right.
So there was a radio war going on too within the building, and that doesn't happen anymore. People don't even know what radio wars are anymore. But there was a time when competing stations literally tried to beat the shit out of each other on the air with promos and imaging and jocks talking shit back and forth. There was no social media, so that was
beautiful.
So it was an amazing time that I cherish. I'm so glad I was a part of it. And then you mentioned the staff we had. I mean, it was a who's who of radio people. When you look, I mean, Wendy something, our overnight girl, now goes by Madison. She's on Sirius XM and, is huge over there with them. Everybody went somewhere else to bigger markets and just had an amazing career. And it was really, really cool. Almon's been doing radio in the northernmost reaches of Michigan with his own morning show for like the last 15 years. So it's like, God. I mean, everybody went out and, did either got into voiceovers or this or that or acting. We even had a couple of actors that came out of that. So it was a really, really cool thing.
Dude, it really was, man. I mean, I remember, like you said, it was like a thing and it was happening in the moment. Cause I remember listening to Paul and Ron in the morning and it was like Toast is down at the IHOP on 441 or whatever. Oh, God, and motherfuckers would like start heading to IHOP. Because it's like, how hard it is, especially nowadays, to get people to radio events and shit. Come on out to like, Kia or whatever. You're lucky if a couple people show up. I mean, let's be honest. It was insane. You had like a dozen people showing up to IHOP because they heard 15 minutes ago that Paul was talking to you there. It really was like a beautiful kind of golden age of radio. At least I know that, there's been all types of different, ages of radio since the beginning. But for me, that was the golden age and what made me want to get into radio in the first place. So I know that you got into sports a little bit after that as well, right? And I know you got a lot going on with the sports and the podcast now, but how did you start getting into sports?
Well, so I've always been just a huge sports fan. And at one point I was doing afternoon drive on ZETA, and I was also the imaging director for the station. And it was late in my ZETA run. There were new folks running ZETA, didn't like the direction it was going. For the record, it wouldn't survive much longer after that, it would go the way and become a Spanish station now known as 94.9.
Mhm.
And so I made the decision to walk away and team up with a guy named Stu Gotts to launch an afternoon sports talk show on 940. And it was basically, dude, it was a brokered show. Like, so we were paying to be on the air. So I went from like being a salaried employee and all that stuff and just took a gamble to like, we're going to go ahead and do sports talk here, sell our own advertising, and who knows why we're doing this, but whatever. Did that for a little bit. And then we parlayed that into a move over to 790, the ticket for the launch of that station. And then he went along with Dan Lebatard to new heights, and I didn't.
Dude, I was,
and
I
yeah, so
gotta
then
tell you, I was almost part of that train too. I gotta tell you after, but that's interesting. Please continue.
Yeah. And so, so did sports. I mean, I guess there's this one guy, I don't know if this is a badge of honor or something to be proud of, but I guess at one point recently, I was one of only 3 people that had ever done shifts at all 4 South Florida sports talk stations. A couple of them aren't even in existence anymore.
Cool.
But yeah, so I've kind of like been a radio nomad in South Florida, been jumping between rock and sports. Sports was pretty much my outlet because there was no rock station. Once ZETA went away, it was a run before 93 Rock came on.
Yep.
And when 93 Rock came on, I would have killed to have been on that station, but they told me to my face, we don't want anybody on this staff associated with ZETA. So,
Trying to create.
so you don't want anyone on your staff that had credibility?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So yeah, but they were totally anti. They wanted nothing to do with anyone from ZETA. So that slammed the door on that. That station didn't last very long as a result. But then it was a while until the Shark showed up, and then that was the next. So from ZETA, big gap, to the Rock, then a giant big gap, and then to the Shark. There hasn't been that consistent. Big's been there the whole time. But with all due respect, for a lot of those time, Big was playing the Beatles and Elton John, and it's just not my jam. It's just too old for me. It's too old for me. I'm a 90s guy. I can't do the protest 60s songs. That's just not my.
Oh, I'm loving Big now, dude.
So, Big now is kicking it, dude.
Pilots.
Yeah. We know what that means, Brian. It means that we're getting older. It means that we're getting older, and now that our rock is classic rock. Yeah, 90s rock is now classic rock.
It's fucking me up, dude. That's
we're getting
for real.
50 asses.
So what's the rule? Because actually, my girl, dude, don't say that. My girl asked me the other day. She's like, "What's the rule as to how old it has to be in order to be on a classic rock station?" And I just gave her a guess, and I said, "I think like around 20 years." Is it something around 20 years? Because it's the latest that I've heard. I mean, I've heard some Red Hot Chili Peppers on there that I was like, is that from the early 2000s? Or I don't know. You have some insight on that?
Yeah. So basically, generally the rule of thumb is 30 years. But what happened is that for some reason, the people running radio now didn't want to let 90s grunge become classic rock. Maybe because of all of our ages, and that would then mean that we're old. And you're kind of like pushing against reality. Father Time is undefeated. Yeah. But at some point in the last 18 months, at least within our company, the higher ups have kind of embraced the fact that, listen, man, stuff from 90 and 91 and 92, like that's classic rock now. Like there's no, the calculator doesn't lie. Okay. Math doesn't lie. That's classic rock now. And as a result, we added all this new music. I mean, we're playing Creed. We're playing Pearl Jam, STP. We're Alice in Chains. We're playing everything from the 90s.
That's my
shit,
it
just
dude.
Sounds, that's my shit. Exactly. That's my jam. So I'm like loving it. It's freaking like perfect. Yeah. So that's kind of the rule of thumb. But there was like, the industry was hesitant to embrace 90s music as classic rock until about the last year or so.
Yeah, I know, man. I know that's and God bless John O'Connell. We got to give a shout out to John O'Connell for bringing rock back to South Florida, an alternative with the Shark. And he had the Buzz before. Anybody who doesn't know, John O'Connell, he had Buzz up in Palm Beach, and then he brought the Shark down here. And thank God, because I remember doing shifts on the Shark, and obviously it was like more like newer alternative stuff, but like I love the fact that we would every once in a while, break out like the STP, some Soundgarden, Foo Fighters and stuff like that. And I was always like that old fogey at the station, apparently, who was like, let's play more of that stuff, guys. Like, you want to play some Silverchair? And they're like, nah, dude, we're going to play some Billie Eilish. And I'm like, okay. But yeah, man, that's always going to just be like my favorite era of music. I said it before. I think like the 90s was the pinnacle of all humanity. This music, TV shows, movies, just like, and I know probably everybody says that about their era and their shit, but I don't know, man. The 90s, TGIF Friday, bro, like ZETA, this is all the things. It's hard to compete with that.
Well, and Generation X, man, we have literally lived through everything. Like, we remember, like it was yesterday, life before 9/11, like before security restrictions, like when you could just show up at the airport 20 minutes before the flight and takes off and just run up to the gate, and they're keeping the door open. They'll hold the door open for you. Come on, sir. Yeah, come on. You'll make it. And it's just, and then between that and just
cell phones and the
internet. Don't know, man. Dude, I remember when my dad was a lawyer in Connecticut, and when he first got a cell phone, it wasn't one that you could take with you. It was one of those bolted into the car. So it was basically just a car phone. That was kind of like one of the first ones besides the brick. Yeah. So it was kind of like bolted in there. But man, dude, and I remember like I would make a couple phone calls on that, and the bill. Like, back then there was no like
$12 a minute,
all-inclusive minutes and stuff like that. It was like $10 a minute to make a phone call and this thing. And I'm calling my buddies to find out if we need to go get a 12-pack before the package store closes at 8 o'clock. And he sees that bill and it's like for like $100. He's like, yeah, but that was but the things that we've seen, bro. Like, I mean, and just all the different, they say certain like, disasters will only happen once in a lifetime. It's happened like 4 or 5 times for us.
Dude, you're so right about that, man. Like, we have seen a little bit of everything. I was trying to tell my nephews about the transition from 2D video games to 3D. Like when Mario 64 came out, I'm like, dude, you have no idea, like the added dimension to video games, how fucking huge that was. And they're like, yeah, what the hell are you even talking? They got their PS5s and shit now. And they're like, okay, Uncle Brian. But yeah, dude, we have seen a lot. Go ahead.
Did you watch the first SNL this year with Chris Rock?
I did.
So the bit when he comes from the future to the kid playing Tony Hawk, and the biggest difference he sees between the 80s and now is the graphics, the evolution of the graphics. Dude, it's like it's real. It's like it's real. And it's like, yeah. I mean, yeah. When I put on Call of Duty now, and when I realized that I first used to play Donkey Kong on ColecoVision, and the significant difference now. I mean, dude, I even had a buddy growing up whose sister was older than us, and they had a Pong.
Damn,
they had
son.
Pong. We used to, all the kids would run to that dude's house because he was the first house in our neighborhood that had a video game system, and all it was a white dot going back and forth like tennis. And like, we were friggin' transfixed.
Where does it go from here?
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. Flying cars are next.
Yeah, dude. Where the fuck is my jetpack, bro? That's all I gotta say, man. I've been campaigning for the jetpack for a minute. So really quick, I want to ask you before we go on about the shark, dude. So tell me about how you got on with the shark, because you did start at nights, doing nights. I know you said you liked that time slot. So was it John who talked you into going back to mornings? Did you feel like you wanted to eventually go back to mornings? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So basically, I was out of radio. I was doing credit card sales, so merchant services, which is a brutal gig, very competitive. And then I was also at night, I was doing sound at the Improv at the Hard Rock.
Okay.
Kind of doing their sound stuff and everything, and doing a little emceeing from time to time.
Nice.
And so I was driving home one night, and all of a sudden, I used to listen to 790 on the FM band, which was 104.3. They were simulcast on 104.3. So I was listening to them because it was a better signal than listening on AM. And I get into the car, and all of a sudden, I hear music. Like, what? Like good music, like music I would listen to. I'm like, whoa. And then the next day driving around, I hear Dina Lane on the radio station. I'm like, whoa, what the hell? So I go ahead and grab the phone, and I text Dina, hey, yo, what's up, buddy? I just heard you on this brand new radio station. I don't know what's going on, but if they, I'd love to get back on the radio at some point, and just kind of left it at that. Next day, I'm out hitting the pavement doing my sales thing, and I get a phone call from Dina and from John O'Connell asking me if I'd have interest in pulling a shift. And I was like, it depends what it is. He's like, well, all we got right now is just part-time stuff. So I was thinking like we could have you just voice track nights. For those of you that don't know, means you go and you pre-record the night shift. So you're not there for the entire thing. So we have them to have someone on, but not to pay them for every hour. So I'm like, you know what? I would, that'd be fun. It's a throwaway shift. Just go in there, have a little fun, talking the radio again, make some jokes because I haven't been on the radio in a couple years. It'll be great. So I do that. It was just myself at nights. It was Dina in middays, and Spam was the afternoon guy, and Ashley was doing mornings by herself. And then after about, I guess I started that in November, and in late January, John came and said, hey, listen, so we'd like to put you in with Ashley in the mornings. I was like, yeah, man, that'll absolutely, yeah, I'd be, it'd be like full-time, or a full-time gig, so you'd stop doing, but yeah, man, I'd absolutely do that. And started doing mornings with Ashley, and was having a blast. And we did that for a couple of years, and then my contract was up, and across the street, they found out my contract was up, and there became a bidding situation, and unfortunately for the Shark and for Entercom, they just didn't want to play that game. And iHeart stepped up significantly, and so there you go. So I made the move, and it broke my heart that my wife still, I mean, she's never seen me that. The last thing I wanted to do was leave the Shark. I love that radio. It was the closest thing I had experienced to ZETA in my life, and I didn't want to let that go because I'd already lost that once. I didn't want to lose that again. And the collection of people in that piece of garbage building that was literally falling apart was immense. Like, you don't even, the talent level in there just was, the bar was set here, and just between all the stations. I mean, with the behind the scenes people like Dave Corey that were working there, and Doug Turkel, and then all the other stations, and the talent. You folks that aren't in radio don't understand. It was a gold mine of talent, and we took over CBS, and I saw it coming, because that's what always happens. They just started cutting everything off. They just started chopping off every limb in that building, and now it's like a headless monster.
Dude,
there's no one left.
Dude, it's brutal, man.
It's so sad. It's sad. The amount of people that lost their gig, it kills me.
Dude, it is so sad. I know, man. And it's like, but like you said, it was the closest thing to ZETA that I had seen down here. And that was one of the huge reasons why I wanted to be on the station. And thank God, ironically, it was Holiday. I think I was filling in for Evelyn Curry on 101.5 in the mornings, like with Julie Guy. And Holiday came in and was like, hey, man, you got like a pretty good voice. You ever think of like, I was like, yeah, dude. I mean, I had done a lot of different stuff. I had never been like a full-fledged, just like a jock, and he's like, dude, why don't you put together an air check? And I started at the beach first and moved over to the Shark. So happy I got to have that time there. And I know that like I said earlier, just trying to keep that grateful mindset, because I know I was lucky to have it. Those are tough gigs to get for anybody. And the fact that I was on that station, I got to be able to have those experiences, introducing bands at Riptide and shit, dude. Just that experience of being on the beach and doing shit like that. Hey, what up, puppers?
That's the Stella dog. Stella
dog. She's cool.
My wife may be getting home right now.
That's all good. That's all good. It adds a layer. I love it.
Adds the realism.
Yeah, dude. But honestly, like nothing but love for the. I know that nobody there wanted that. What's happened since this whole situation. I mean, like you said, the writing was on the wall. It was already happening. But if anything, this pandemic just kind of accelerated this whole process, like at least 10 years. Because I mean, I'm seeing people off the air now that I'm like, if they're off, who the fuck is on? Like, and
right, exactly.
It doesn't even make sense. Like the fact that Dina got like, I know that like when people were getting left and right, and I'm like, man, this is incredible. I cannot believe this has happened. When they let Darlene Evans go from Kiss Country and Dina from the Shark, that was like, okay, like it's fucking done, dude. Like, I mean, up to that point, it was like, yeah, they're gonna man it, and yeah, they've got, you know, Ashley's still there holding down the fort. They're doing their best, and again, they're just doing their job. Everybody's trying to do their best, you'd like to think, but it's just where I wanted to ask you, man, where do you see it going from here, in particular with this company that we're talking about now? Because I mean, these execs, there's been some questionable decisions being made at the top at some of these companies, and you wonder, where is this headed?
Man, that's a great question. It's $1 million question.
You're right.
Unfortunately, I don't think it's heading anywhere that we want it to go. I don't think it's heading to something where we see a landscape similar to what we're talking about in the late 90s. You know, for those that that want to get into the minutia of it, this started back in 1996 with the Deregulation Act, the Communications Act of 1996 that was signed by Bill Clinton. And basically it set the ball rolling where there used to be limits on how many radio stations and TV stations one company could own in a specific market. And it was only a few. You could only have a few because they didn't want one voice controlling the messaging for an entire market.
Makes sense.
Then, you know, listen, corporate greed, stock prices. You need ways to make more money when a company's maxed out. So what do? You consolidate and take over other companies. Exactly. And so that's what happened. And all of a sudden, this family in Texas who owned this media company called Clear Channel went on steroids and started buying up everything. They started buying up friggin' everything. Clear Channel is now iHeartMedia. The other big competitor, the other big brand was CBS Radio. They were now purchased by Entercom. So you have two companies now that basically own 75% of all the radio stations. Then you have a few other stations that own, you know, but there's no mom and pops. It used to be you had one family own this station, another family owned this station, and they were competing. And it was just, if you got fired from this station, you could go across the street and get another job. That doesn't happen anymore. The fact that that Darlene, that Dina, and that Kimba are not on the air
another one
in South Florida right now is mind-blowing. It is taking three of the most talented on-air personalities that this market has and just keeping them on the sideline for one reason and one reason only, because you don't want to pay them what they're worth. And you want to start lowering that so that a DJ now is just basically a part-time voice that makes like 25, 30 grand a year, and that's it. It used to be a day when DJs are making 75, 100, 150,000 because they connected with the community. They had brought in endorsements. Like, you wanted to be a part of that. Yeah. That connection is what's going to disappear. When that connection disappears, Brian, radio's dead, because that's what makes radio. Like, growing up, the morning show I listened to was part of my life.
Yes.
When they took a vacation, it impacted me that whole week that I wasn't listening on the way in, because it's a different it's a different thing. It's not it's
not. We're playing greatest hits this morning.
Stop. But that's the connection. And when that connection is gone, and it's gone when you no longer have local talent, it's dead now, because now there's no one to, and that's what breaks my heart. So I don't know, bro, where it's going. I honestly think at this stage, podcasting is where we all turn. The problem with podcasting, though, is that there's 85 million podcasts out there, and trying to make a podcast financially viable, as you know, is friggin' hard as hell. Yeah, it is hard as hell. You need to be either big and national or so hyper local that you have just a rabid small local audience that will go to those advertisers, and so that's what you have to fight for. But it's a hustle, bro. It's a hustle.
Fuck yeah, it is. It sure is, man. And it's interesting to see where it's going. And like you said, who the hell knows? But I always like to ask either way and say, hey, dude, what do you think? Because like you said, local terrestrial radio, letting go of people like it, that was, like I said, that was the first huge mind blower. I was just like, I can't believe this. But I was like, okay. Like you said, maybe it's the money, they can't afford or whatever, contract time, and everything went from there. It's just like you said, those three women not being on the air down here is just, it doesn't make sense. So yeah, dude, I mean, that goes to show you where things are right now. And I'm glad that I had this podcast kind of going before, and I was able to revamp it, get some sponsors, do my thing. And I've got voiceovers, I've got other gigs going on, I got live events. So, again, just trying to be grateful that I have these other things going on that I can keep, you know, a roof over my head where, you know, dude, there's a lot of people who put all of their eggs in the radio basket and they are fucked right now.
Screwed right now.
And it makes me sad.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to diversify.
Yeah, dude. And by the way, because I want to get in your podcast and everything, but first, I told you when you first got back on with Paul, you sound fucking great on there with Paul, man. I love Paul. It sounded amazing, you know, even without Ron. But you being on there just completes the show, in my opinion. And you sound fucking great. I listened to you a little bit this morning. I don't always get to listen, but every once in a while I'll pop you on, and I'm just like, fuck, man, it's good to hear your laugh. I'm sure you hear all the time about your laugh on there. Yep. And it just makes it, like you said, it makes it feel to us, the listener, and especially the ones who've been down here for a long time, like we still got a little slice of Zeta down here. And we still got that little bit of feel. But to have you guys here, it's huge. So you sound fucking amazing on Big. I wish you nothing but the best. And I hope that you can work from home and start calling yourself Greg after March or whatever. And, you know, take it to the next level, dude. But you sound great, man. You sound fucking great. And I'm just really happy that you're doing your thing. And has anybody heard from Ron? Like, what's going on with Ron lately? I wanted to ask you that.
Yeah, so I heard back from Ron. It was for Paul's 60th birthday. We were getting some folks to go ahead and drop little DMs, little videos or whatnot. And I reached out to Ron and said, hey, man, so, you know, we got a birthday coming up on the show. You want to drop a little something to Castronovo? And he replied, hey, Toast, good hearing from you. Yeah, no, I'm good. Take care of yourself.
Holy
now,
shit.
He doesn't even reply. He doesn't even reply to Paul's text. Like, Paul hasn't heard from him since the last day they were on together. He has not.
Serious?
Yeah, he hasn't returned phone calls. No, they have just not. Yeah, we've had a couple of listeners that have bumped into him at the grocery store, but that's pretty much it. So we know that he's still down here. He's still alive.
He's driving his little white Jag around.
Outside of that, yeah,
Dude,
right. So, listen, that means a lot. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And listen, and you watching the way that you have grown since you started over in that building has been very, very cool because, dude, you got great friggin' pipes. And even when you were doing weekend shifts over there, it was a pleasure when you were filling in because, like, dude, man, I would tell the wife we'd be driving, dude, Brian sounds so friggin' good. So I'm glad that you got the mental reps thing going on. Always been a fan of yours. And, I want to pick your brain about the voiceover thing.
Oh, that's so kind of you, man. Oh, yeah, anytime, dude. I mean, yeah, it's a little slim pickings now, but, yeah, it's out there. You just got to hustle to get it. But, dude, that's really nice of you to say, man. Like, you know, it's it always feels good to just know, like, that's, I don't know, call us crazy, but don't, like, yes, we're keeping roofs over our head and shit, but being able to have some sort of positive impact on somebody else's life, I mean, that just means the fucking world to me, man. So whether it's just making somebody's day flow by a little bit better, adding some positivity, adding a chuckle to the day, whatever the hell it might be, that makes me feel best. So thanks a lot for saying that, dude, because, you know, I've looked up to you and Paul and all you guys for a long time. You guys are huge reason why I'm in radio in the first place. So, and I told that to Kimba and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was like, no, it's a good thing. I'm like, what would you suggest people do who are trying to get in radio nowadays? Kimba's like, run, do not.
Yes,
do
run
not.
far.
And I'm like, yes. But yeah, so now we're diversifying our bonds, man. Like we're mixing things up a little bit. And I think that can only be a good thing because it's going to create more opportunity. Listen, like if these talented people got to go somewhere, and like you said, whether it's a podcast or whether it's, you know, a web series or whatever the hell it might be, YouTube channel, that's a good thing, I think. And that also gives them more control or personal opportunities. Like, yeah, you have to grind your ass off, but just getting, like, you know, a sponsor here and there, you know, like do some merch, make some t-shirts and doing all these little things. I've seen what Dina's doing with, I'd like to give her something, emotional support threads. Isn't that the name of the,
I think that's what it's called. Yeah.
Like emotional support.
Something about that.
Shit like that, dude. I'm like, fuck yeah, do that, Dina. Like diversify your bond. Cause she's so fucking creative. And dude, I don't know. She works social media better than anybody else that I know because it's like, Anybody
so
else
good.
would be way fucking too much. It's just like you gotta stop posting. But she seems to be able to get away with all the posts, and she's funny, and she shares stuff about her life, and she's got a lot.
She's amazing,
of
dude. Dina's amazing.
I love Dina. Dina's such good shit, man. Like really helped me a lot. So yeah, dude, I just wanted to, point that out. So now you've got sport. What's the name of your podcast? I was listening to it.
The Orange Bowl Boys.
The Orange Bowl Boys, dude. You just had that Clemson recap. I gotta. We gotta get a little Canes talk in here, dude. So let's talk about some Canes. First off, again, the Orange Bowl Boys. Tell everybody about the podcast, where they can hear you, and all that good stuff.
So the Orange Bowl Boys is myself and two lifelong friends. Couple of guys that I met during the Zeta days doing the local music scene. They were in a band out of Coral Springs called Release that had a lot of success. And so Frank and Scoop, and so the three of us together, we do the Orange Bowl Boys. It is a Miami Hurricane-centric podcast. That's where we start every episode. It's not where we finish every episode. We then just go off on life tangents and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, man, we're hitting our third year. We just cleared. We're coming up on like 300,000 downloads.
Huge.
Like it's going. We got some sponsors. It's going really. It's going like it was a thing that we never thought would get past one episode, and we're recording episode 103 this week. So it's it's cool. It's a lot of fun. You can find it anywhere you do podcasting. Stitcher, Apple, SoundCloud, all the platforms have it. But Spotify. So all good.
I love it, dude. I'm really happy that you got that going. And that's your guys' baby, right? Is that connected at all to iHeart, or it's your own thing, right?
Nope, 100% OBB Media Inc.
I love it, dude. I love it. I know.
Our own little company.
I just started Mental Reps Productions LLC, brother. I'm up and running.
There you go.
Now. Yeah,
there you
dude.
go,
it's
man.
one of those things you think, oh,
someone wants to buy us, you come talk.
Yeah, give us a call. But no, dude. Yeah, I think that a lot of Canes fans expected that to obviously be a tough game on Saturday. We knew that wasn't going to be easy. We thought that, now that our offense is clicking a little bit more, Derek King, Cameron Harris, that we had a shot there. And I think that, a different game, a different day, you play that game a few more times, you could have had some different results. But at the same time, that's Clemson for you right there, man. They've been kicking everybody's ass for years. You got Sunshine throwing the ball, lights out. I mean, the defense is tackling. They're playing great. But, I do like this team right now. We're definitely heading the right direction. Tell people what you're thinking about the Canes and the season so far.
So for the record, all three of the Orange Bowl Boys picked Miami to lose that game in Clemson, not because we weren't rooting for them, but just reality. We're just not there yet.
Yeah.
And I think you saw that on the field. I think you saw the difference between having a bunch of 4 and a few 3-star players and a bunch of 5-star players. Like there was a bit of a difference there, talent-wise, that you saw at certain positions, certainly the cornerback position. Derek King, I absolutely love him as a quarterback, but he isn't Sunshine. He can't throw the deep ball like he can right now. I'll be honest, dude, like watching the Canes, and I've been a Canes fan since the mid-'80s. So I started being a Canes fan specifically to piss off my father because he was a Boston College fan. Yeah, absolutely. That's how they
Boston
were the Rebels.
College,
they were
Flutie,
basically Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but as Dan Le Batard said in those Billy Corbin documentaries, the U back then, those players were the nightmare of white America. And I grew up in the land of white marshmallow fluff up in Connecticut. It was suburbia, like it was. So yeah, they did not like what that team and I loved that team, the rebel attitude. Anyways, so this year, listen, we're getting better. You got to remember, this team went 6-7 last year, lost to FIU less than 12 months ago. We lost to FIU handily. They kicked our ass. And then we played a bowl game against Louisiana Tech and didn't score a point. And that was only like 8 months ago. So they got Lashley in here. We got the new offense. There was going to be growing pains. You knew this was going to be a measuring stick game. I guess the upsetting thing about this game is that we once again, we weren't really competitive. And my thing is, and I hate to be that fan, but son of a bitch, dude, that first penalty in the first ride by Roche, lining up off sides when we would have gotten the ball back. Right then and there, I turned to my wife and I said, we're not winning this game.
dude.
I mean, we can't. Miami had to play a
15
perfect
penalties for like 140 yards.
Oh, it was ridiculous,
something
dude.
like
It
that.
was insane. It was insane.
Painful.
Just the shooting themselves in the foot, which, as you and I know, has been such a Miami staple for the last 15 years that it just drives you crazy. So now this is going to be big because judging by Manny's history and the history of this team, they don't do well coming off of a loss like that. They go into the tank. They will lose 2, 3, 4 games in a row. That's what history says recently. They need to win this game against Pittsburgh. Yeah. This can't be the Clemson game can't let them define their season. They need to say, you know what? That was a one-off. We now got to finish our schedule, go 10-1, get better, and take another crack at those assholes in the ACC. And then hopefully we're a little bit closer. Like, listen, we lost 58-0 in Golden's last game. Then 3 years ago at the ACC title game, it was 38-3. So the less. Now it was 42-17. So we're closing the gap with them. Maybe if we play them in the ACC title game, we'll lose by 10.
Yeah, I know.
But at least it's a competitive game, and we enjoy watching it. Right? Yeah,
right.
Exactly. So, but I think they're going in the right direction. I do. I think they're going in the right direction. For those of us that remember them in the heyday, I know it's tough. It's tough to wait this long, but you can't keep comparing them to that team. This is this own team. And these kids aren't Ray Lewis. They're not Andre Johnson. They're not Ken Dorsey. So you can't compare them to them. This offensive line certainly isn't that offensive line. There's no Rombergs on this offensive line. There's no Joaquin Gonzalez on this offensive line. And it was so it's a work in progress.
Sorry, go ahead.
But the thing is that outside of Clemson and maybe North Carolina, outside of Clemson and Notre Dame, we're better than everyone else in the ACC. I think. I think we're better than North Carolina, just barely. But I think we're better than everyone else. So don't lose to the teams that we should beat.
Yes.
If you end up going 10-1 and you don't make the title game because Notre Dame beat you out, but you only lost to Clemson, dude, phenomenal job. Yeah. Phenomenal job. It's going to be awesome for recruiting. Everything will keep moving forward. Do not lose to Pitt and let this snowball.
Yes, huge. Because again,
I think this is almost a bigger game than Clemson.
Yeah, well, exactly. Because like you said, you lose to number one, that's not a gigantic deal at the end of the day. Again, if you win out, you beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. But if you do that Kane shit that we do sometime where you just like you said, at the end of the year last year, it all fallen apart. We just get destroyed by FIU, Louisiana Tech. Before that, every game we lost was by 3 points, 6 points. If we had a fucking kicker, that would have been a completely different season, I think, because by the time that we would have got to FIU and Louisiana, we would have gotten a better bowl. By the time that we got to FIU, we wouldn't have been so. I just feel so fucking bad for the Quartermans and Michael Pinkneys and shit like that. They came back and wanted to have a ball out year last year, only for our offense to just shit the bed over and over and over again and keep our defense out on the field and getting them gassed. And we lose Greg Russo this year. And, that would have been huge to be able to have him help out a little bit, but it is what it is. And, you'd like to think that we'd be able to come back and mature as a team, come back from a loss like this and be better. That is, like you said, how we come back from the losses, that is going to be how we're going to get better. because we do have this thing that we've been doing the last couple of years. After a loss, we just kind of curl up and it ends up getting
undefeated or nothing.
Really? Yeah, dude.
Really?
You're so right about that, man. Yeah. Where's the in between? Jesus Christ. But yeah, dude. So I don't know.
You're allowed to go 9-2. You can go 10-1.
Right. And it's so funny when we got, this carousel of coaches. We've been through a lot as a team, the last 20 years, 25 years. In particular, last 15, 10 years. I think that obviously it's all going to be there. It's still there. We have this history these expectations that we're expected to build on. And I think that is one of those things that is kind of fucking us up, is that people just expect it to be like a one-game snap back to having the swag of the old days of the Canes, and not even a little bit, man. We're going to have to earn that shit back, and it's going to be a process, and we're not there yet, but we're getting there, hopefully. I like Manny Diaz a lot.
We are getting there.
I like Rhett Lashley a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the squad. I like the direction they're going in. They got the facilities. They're moving in the right direction. I really want Manny to succeed because he is Mr. 305. That'd be so great to have him have that success. But yeah, he's gotta keep getting better, man. Got to keep getting better.
Really quick, let's talk about some Finnies. That game yesterday, dude. Fucking finally got to see us ball out for a little bit, man. Getting, what was it, 31 points in the first half. Fitzmagic out there doing his thing. Fucking love it, dude. And yeah, I mean, obviously we have our Heat losing to the Lakers, and after that brutal series, after an incredible season. Let's wrap up some sports, man. What do you want to talk? Heat, Dolphins? I'll leave it up to you. You pick.
Well, we'll talk about both of them. Let's start with the Heat. Just, man, I can't remember having more fun watching a Heat team over the last 20 years than this one. I will even say that I believe that this season, in the fans' minds and hearts, I think that Jimmy Butler has solidified himself in Heat lore above LeBron James. I think he's already more loved and beloved by Heat fandom than LeBron will ever be.
For sure.
And I think the thing that pisses me off, huh?
I said for sure. Sorry, go ahead. You hear the music in the back. Now go ahead.
The other thing, the other thing is, I guess I was so pissed off that they didn't get to take their shot at the title with all their guns in their, with all the bullets in their gun. They only had one bullet and then a bunch of, bullets, side bullets that have been great, but the other two main bullets were out. And the fact that happened in game one and so early in game one, and it was just like, oh my God, they did all this and not even going to get to take an honest shot at the title, because I am a firm believer that this thing would have easily gone 7 games. And part of me really thinks that he would have pulled off the upset with Gorn in there this whole time. But they didn't. The future is so bright. I mean, their future is bright. Listen, we've been in sports in South Florida has been tough for the last 20 years. The Heat have been the lone beacon of success, continued like year after year. They've had a couple rebuilding seasons, but for the most part, they've been winners this whole freaking time since Riley got here with Alonzo back in the mid-90s. And now all of a sudden, the Heat are crazy young, and they got room to bring in a supermax player. The Marlins have a young, great squad. They've got a new ownership group. They made the playoffs. They got a young pitching staff that, I mean, everyone is saying that the future is the sky's the limit for these kids. The Panthers, you kind of sense, they made some moves, a new GM, and that they're on the precipice of becoming a consistent playoff team, we're hoping. And then the Dolphins, listen, they got the quarterback. They got Tua. And now, they're bringing him along, but you've seen over the last 2 years with Flores, this team is getting better. This team doesn't quit like they did on past coaches. If they're down, there's a fight there. They're not making stupid penalties. So I know they're very, very young, but I am loving what Brian Flores is doing. And I think you're going to see Tua in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Obviously, if Fitzmagic keeps putting up QBRs that are the highest in the NFL, then that may prolong things a little bit. But Tua's the guy. We know Tua's going to be the guy. And so, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like, I think finally we may be about to hit, fingers crossed, this could be the next 5 to 7 years may be phenomenal for South Florida sports between the Canes with what Diaz is doing and the Heat and the Marlins and the Dolphins and maybe the Panthers. Man, Inter Miami, they're now winning games, and they got the highest paid player in MLS now in Higuain, leading the way at striker. Like, that's dude, right. Like this could become a sports mecca for the next 5 to 7 years if these GMs all do things right and we don't have any major injuries.
From your mouth to God's ears, bro. Like, for real.
Been waiting a long time, Brian. Been waiting a long time.
Dude, I've tried to explain to my girlfriend, she's from Colorado. I'm like, you don't understand. The only time in my lifetime I've seen the Dolphins in a Super Bowl was an Ace Ventura Pet Detective. Like, you don't understand. This has been a tough road. Like, I've gotten to see my Canes at the top of the mountain, got to see the Heat, the Marlins, but the Dolphins are always, and maybe it is because they haven't won. And they've just endeared themselves to me over the years, but they were my first favorite. Dan Marino is always my guy. He's just always going to be my guy. But Dwayne Wade has done a hell of a job to try and knock him off my personal list. That is, I think in general, I mean, with the championships and everything, it's hard to it's hard to say that he didn't knock Danny Boy off the top, but I think for a lot of people who've lived here over the years, it's just impossible to knock him off the top. But being a South Florida sports fan, I mean, going through the 1-15 season, like fucking Cleo Lemon and Cam Cameron and going through the Nevin Shapiro shit with the Canes and, you know, what fucking Jeffrey Loria and Sampson with the Marlins and all this shit. It hasn't been easy being the South Florida sports fan, you know, all these years. So like you said, just the fact that we've got some hope, it's just like, that's all you can ask for as a sports fan. And I think that we, like you said, Manny and Brian Flores, really happy with our football, where that direction is headed. Even like you said, the new like Inter Miami, fucking David Beckham, looking beautiful as ever with his shades out there, fucking killing it. A Jeter taking charge of the Marlins. It's all kind of very exciting down here. So, dude, like I said, from your mouth to God's ears, man.
I'm a firm believer that in the next 5 to 7 years, we're going to have a couple of championship parades going through Miami. And I think they'll be for more than just one team. Different franchises down here. So at least 2 franchises down here are going to win a title in the next 5 to 7 years. That is what I believe. Because I believe that's the way it's trending. So you're right. From my lips to God's ears. Let's get it done.
Oh, dude, please, let's get it done, man. I need it. I need it so bad. All right, dude, you feel good about sports? I wanted to cover a couple things before I let you go. And let me think. Okay, what do you think about? Let's do Hater Hall of Fame. It's something that I do.
Okay.
So basically, you know, it's not healthy to keep everything inside. You have to get it out. We all have different emotions. And you ever seen Me, Myself, and Irene with Jim Carrey? You don't want to be that guy who leaves everything in only to fucking lose his shit eventually one day. Because like I said, it's going to come out one way or another. So I try to, provide a healthy platform for my guests to be able to share their hate, what's pissing them off at the moment. So we do this little thing. It's called Hater Hall of Fame.
I hate you guys. I hate you. I don't even know you. I hate you. You're tacky and I hate you.
Toast, what's pissing you off today, bro? It could be anything. Yourself, what's happening in the world, you name it.
LeBron James pissing me off. He wins the title for the Lakers, their 17th title, and they ask him what he wants, and his response is, I just want respect, man. Dude, seriously, go fuck yourself. Like, really? Who's not giving you respect? Like, who's not giving you respect? Like, I just watched ESPN for the last 2 weeks, and like they featured you for like hours every single day. The GOAT debate. I mean, who the hell's not giving you like? Preach. Everyone has to like say that you're the best, or else that's disrespecting you. Seriously, LeBron, go fuck yourself. All right, you're not as good as Michael Jordan. You'll never be as good as Michael Jordan. You're number 2. Kiss it, lick it. Like, I'm over you. I'm over LeBron James. Oh my God, for a guy to make that much money and to be that good and to whine like a bitch non-stop on the court, off the court, nothing, everything's an insult to him. Oh, get the fuck out of here, LeBron. Walk away. No one likes you anymore, not even Heat fans.
Dude, that was fucking beautiful, man. That has got to be one of my favorite Hater Hall of Fames of all time. It was quick, concise, to the point. Beautiful. I got to give you props on that one. Okay.
Here you go, baby.
I love it. All right. We got the mental reps questionnaire, and we'll get you out of here.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Why so serious?
What's in the box?
What does Marcellus Wallace look like?
What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
Answer the question, Claire.
Are you telling me you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Is Darth Vader my father?
For real, B? I want answers.
Without a good question, a good answer has no place to go. It's time for the mental reps questionnaire.
If you could meet anyone current or historical and spend the day picking their brain, who would it be?
Oh, wow. Damn, right out of the gate, that's the first question?
I'm putting you on the fucking spot.
I guess well, it seems like, I don't know how great of I think everyone probably would give this answer. First thing that pops in my head would be Abraham Lincoln.
Dope. Okay. All right. I like that. I like that answer. Any reason in particular?
Pivotal. He had to deal with a lot of stuff, Civil War, I can't imagine the stress that he had on a nightly basis, and it didn't have any outlet for it. Like there was no electricity yet. There wasn't like talking news channels he could go to and like call into it. Like he was just in that Oval Office alone with his thoughts about, oh my God, the country's going to split apart.
Ironing out the Emancipation Proclamation.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, just, I can't. And apparently he was a bit of a freak being that tall back then. He couldn't find a bed that fit him. His feet were always hanging off the edge, I heard.
Yeah, I also he had a couple other things hanging out in that bed too. Supposedly he was not so much a fan of the ladies. He kind of liked his male counterparts a little bit more. That's dude.
Okay.
He shared his bed with his dudes.
It only mathematics and statistics would go ahead and say that of the 45 that we've had, at least a couple that played for that team. With all due respect, I know you may not want it's happened. It's happened.
Dude,
okay, it's happened.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Like Seinfeld, come on.
Nothing in any way.
Nothing in any way. Come on.
Nope.
If you had one round,
we've never had a gay president. Really?
Oh, dude.
Really? Okay.
They've been fucking slobbing on some knobs in that Oval Office. There's
Exactly.
no doubt about it.
Exactly.
Who knows what the fucking Kennedys were doing in there and shit. And Teddy Roosevelt, he was a freak. All right. If you had one round trip ticket in the time machine, when and where would you go?
Oh, wow. One round trip ticket in a time machine.
Past or future?
Well, so now this is one of those moral questions. Do I go back somewhere where I could change something for the betterment of the world? Or am I selfish and I go back and I just do something for the betterment of me? That's the moral question. I mean, do I go back to to like the early 1900s and accidentally take out a young Adolf Hitler when he's like 10 years old, or do I go and do the Biff thing and go back and get a sports almanac, or actually go to the future and get a sports almanac and then make some freaking bets and be the next Bill Gates?
Yeah, dude. Okay, so is it one of those?
I think I do the latter.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saving the world. I'm gonna make good bets and make a lot of money. Yeah,
dude. You want to fucking you want the girl. You want to get that cash. Come on, homie. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Invisibility. Oh, let me tell you something. If I had the ability to be invisible, I would be the world's. I would clean up the world, dude. I would take out the worst. I would be over in North Korea right now, sneak into the palace, take out Kim Jong-un. Boom, you're gone. Take out his sister too. I go over to.
So you are noble. I thought you were going to be like jerking off.
I take out Myanmar. Yeah. No. I would take out all these awful people. Invisible. They just disappear. Yeah, I'd be like I'd be a great superhero.
Dope, dude. Okay, so you got some noble causes there, because like I was saying, like I would have thought that we'd be like jerking off in girls' locker rooms and shit, and fucking maybe doing like
that's perverted.
Be honest about it.
I will tell you this.
Dude. Don't fucking lie to me, bro. You tell me that you're invisible. You go off. You take out Kim Jong Un, and you're like, "Good job, Toast. You should do something to like reward yourself." And you're not walking into little Victoria's Secret
locker room naked. Yeah, just listen. I will tell you right now, Brian. I will tell you right now that I'm fairly certain. I know that the world doesn't keep track of this thing, but if there was a percentile group for the amount of times that every guy has pleasured themselves, I'm pretty sure I'm in the upper 1%.
Okay, so like meaning high numbers. You got them high numbers.
High numbers.
Okay.
High numbers. High numbers. Yeah.
Okay. Well, now I have to keep poking. What kind of numbers are we talking here? Like, let's go
stratosphere
per month or let's go per week.
Oh, I mean, per week, you've got to probably go like at least 10, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
At least got to go once a day.
Okay.
I don't know how else to fall asleep.
Yeah, and then sometimes you got a long afternoon. You got to break up the monotony a little bit. Though,
exactly.
The wife is on a hairdresser appointment. Always, you got. I get it. Okay, I appreciate it.
I'm just saying.
Dude, I like
be honest.
I like that answer. It was honest. Do you believe in ghosts? Explain either way.
You know what? I want to believe in ghosts, just because that would mean that there's something after this. And I'm not sure there is. But I think there's been I'd like to think there's been enough folks claiming to have seen one that it's got to be real, you know, but I don't know. So yeah, so I mean, I want to believe that, because but then again, I think, what if that is the truth, is if there is something after, but then you're a ghost and you're like trapped like in this house for eternity that you grew up in.
Yeah, that never
like you're trapped there forever.
yeah.
Like, I don't get that. Like, so you're a ghost now, but you can't leave that bedroom. Like, wait, for the next million years? Like, I don't know if I want that.
Good call, dude. Yeah, that is always like a plot hole on all like the little Casper little movies or whatever. It's like, so they're just
why can't they move to an island in
forever? Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on? Yeah.
Come on.
Okay, so yeah, and yeah, if you did have that ability, you'd want to be poking around a little bit. Like, I mean, unless there is some sort of, again, multi-dimensional thing, like you're confined to the space in which you who knows? But yeah, okay, I like that answer. What was the first concert you ever attended?
First, alone or with my parents? Well, I'll give you both. So the first concert I attended with my parents, first concert I ever attended, was a Beach Boys concert. They would play, the University of Hartford basketball team would play at the Civic Center, and after games, to get folks to go, they would have a concert afterwards. And the Beach Boys played one year, and so my parents took me to that basketball game with my sister, and we stayed for after the game with the Beach Boys. First concert I ever went to by myself, freshman year of high school, I went and saw the Boston Third Stage Tour. And that was also the first evening that I smelled burning grass inside of an arena and was like, what the hell is that smell? Oh, now I know what that smell is. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. No, I love it.
Both events at the Hartford Civic Center.
That's awesome. That, you know, it's so funny. The first time I ever smelled grass was, it was Metallica, Creed, Kid Rock, and Seven Dust at the Orange Bowl in 1999.
Yes.
Were you there?
I was there.
Yeah.
I was there.
And
broadcasting.
Dude,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, this dude came up. He had a bowl, and at that point, dude, I was a very prude Christian boy. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. He gives me this like glass pipe, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? It could have been anything for all I knew. I had no idea. I was like, no, I'm good. And I just see him light up this little bowl, and it blew my fucking mind. I was like, so that's how it works. That's great. I love it. Well, by the way, are you a medicinal card holder?
I am.
Good for you, dude.
Yes.
One of the reasons that I've been holding off on that is because, at least when I was doing news, and I know that some things have changed about, oh my God, as we're talking about, it's 420 right now. I know. Had to point that out. But yeah, dude, I wanted to wait because it's like this issue as far as if you want to be a concealed carry, like, you know, owner or whatever, have that license, that you can't have that. And then on top of it depends on which one you get first. It's like a stupid logistical thing.
I think you can get concealed weapons first,
and then you can get the marijuana license, but you can't do it the other way. So I went to go and get my concealed permit about 6 months ago, but I can't go and get my fingerprints anywhere. Like, if I wanted to, I'd have to drive up to fucking Tallahassee right now, which is ridiculous.
Oh, Jesus.
But in order to get it like finalized, so I'm waiting for like a office to open up down here so I can get that, so I can get it out of the way and then go and get the other license. But are you digging it?
Yeah,
like, where do you go?
The CWP.
Oh yeah,
I go to. We wanted to get the CWP, but I got my weed card first, and now I'm SOL on that. So, but yeah, I go to. Unfortunately, I go to True Leaf, not just because they seem to be the biggest and have the biggest selection. I want to go elsewhere, but because True Leaf is such a giant pain in the butt. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's all these places are working out their kinks. I just like the fact that I don't have to count on my buddy Bill anymore to tell me that he'll be home in a certain time, and he's not home for like an hour after that. And I'm sitting there just waiting in his driveway, because that's always what happened with trying to buy weed. Always, no matter who it was weed.
Oh yeah, I was home. Now I'm not. I'll be back in 6 hours maybe. And it's like, oh, so you were there when I text you. Now you're gone, and you're saying you might be back in like 6. Yeah, dude, I feel you on that. It's thankfully after over years you get friends or whatever, and it makes it a little bit easier and less complicated. But it's like, Jesus criminy, dude, like it's so ridiculous what we have to put up with down here. And now I hear that they're trying to change because we have super majority down here, so we need 60% in order to get something passed. And now they're talking about we need to get it passed twice before that new law. It needs to get passed. I'm like, what the fuck are these people doing down here? Sheldon Adelson.
Well, you know why that is?
That motherfucker has been going against anti-legalization for decades. No, go ahead.
Well, I'll be honest, I think that so the two amendments that pissed off the Republicans in Tallahassee to do that amendment for was weed, and then last year the felons getting their right back to vote. That pissed them all off. And so now, that whole amendment 4, you got to vote now twice. Kiss my ass. Yeah, I voted so no dick on that goddamn thing. Like, what are you talking about? Got to pass twice. And it costs like millions of dollars to get these things on the ballot in one time, let alone two. So kiss my ass, bro. So what, you can see what campaign didn't work and then you can change it for 4 years from now and then get it shot down? No way. No. If that passes, I might leave the state.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, Billy Corbin, first of all, I love that guy. He's on top of those motherfuckers. And every time I see Billy, I'm like, bro, keep it up, buddy. We need you. We need you and other people like you, keeping these people honest. I love that Billy Corbin's out there fucking holding their feet to the fire because, it is absurd what's going on with politics down here. All right, what's some wisdom that you can share with anybody listening who is trying to pursue their dreams working in radio?
Seriously, don't do it, dude. Run far, run fast. Listen, I would love to tell you that, listen, man, follow your dream. And if you want it bad enough, you'll get, here's the deal. There's just no gigs. There's no gigs. You've got stations now that only have one live person. Everything else is piped in from elsewhere. So perfect example. You have 2 sports stations owned by the same company. And there's plenty of sports events that happen on the weekend. They fired all their part-time weekend people. So now they just run syndicated stuff from the satellite. There's no locality. So you can't even have a local call-in show after the Marlins series or after the Heat game on Sunday night. It's just, so I would say you were born too late. Like, you were born 20 years too late. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Podcasting.
Yeah.
You need to start a podcast and you need to grow it organically. And you need to as long as you're having fun with it, then there you go. But if you want to make a living in radio right now, I mean, I don't know what to tell you because I don't know what to tell you because I don't think you can unless you're already in.
Yeah, dude.
Right? I mean, I don't want to be negative about it, but it's
getting into radio now.
It's sad.
No, yeah, dude, it's a bummer. I mean, I
don't know where the next morning show comes from.
Yeah,
those young people aren't being groomed right now. I don't know where. So I don't know where when Paul retires.
I was one of those people, but I'm not there anymore. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Those folks that have been working 10, 15 years that were ready to step in have now been let go.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And it sucks because I've loved radio my entire life and I have a romance about it. And it's just, it's sad to see. It really is. And I can tell that you kind of are the same way. It's, it just sucks.
It is a bummer, man. It's just, right before this all went down, John came into the studio and he was like, hey man, we want to get you linked up with our buddy Gary Sarner because he works with Hard Rock, and I was doing that podcast where I was interviewing all the comedians and I was doing comedy shows, and it's like, yeah man, we're about to I was basically about to hit another stride, dude. Just you wanted to start advertising them on the air. We're doing this thing with Hard Rock, get me connected with that. I was going to start doing these. And a week and a half, 2 weeks later, all this shit happens. And I'm like, God, motherfucker. Yeah. But again, I can't look back and be like, oh, what was because what the fuck is that going to do? I'm just going to be grateful for what we got and keep pressing towards the future because that's all the fuck you can do. And like you said, I mean, if anybody wants to get into radio, just get into a podcast. And by the time, if at all, the radio does come back and they start accepting,
that's where they're going to look for talent is podcasts.
They're going to be looking at people who have a little experience. Right. And since you can't get it in radio, they're going to say, oh, they got a podcast here. It's got a couple downloads. That's going to be how you do it.
You can start a podcast for relatively cheap, man. Like, I mean, just outside of just all you need is a Snowball Blue microphone and Audacity, which is a free editing software, and you can literally start a podcast on your computer for $100.
Yeah.
So, you can obviously go way up from that equipment wise, but it's not like you need to outlay $1,000 to start a podcast. You don't. As long as you got a laptop, free audio program, and a $50 microphone, you can go.
That is the beautiful thing about things nowadays, that you can just get up and running, and it is all about just starting it. What is it like? My man Gary V. Perfectionism is insecurity with lipstick on. I fucking love that quote because everybody, it needs to be perfect. That's how I was before. It's like, no, dude, you just need to start, and then it's gonna get better. It's not gonna get perfect before you start it. Exactly. If you had
episode's never going to be the perfect episode.
Yeah, you're right. If you had the world's attention for 30 seconds, what would you say?
I would tell you all to look in the mirror and look in your own eyes and stop being such an asshole to everybody else, and realize that there's far more that we all agree on that we don't agree on. And when you look at the grand scheme of the things that we choose to be divisive about, they're ridiculous. And that, just be nice to people. Be fucking nice to the person. Do pay it forward, dude. Just do something nice for someone. Stop being so mean and hate and hatred and name calling. It's awful. I can't handle it anymore, man. I've hit my, and I Mr. Negativity. I can't. I've hit my limit. I've hit my limit,
dude. Great answer. I could not agree with you more, man. People need to start start focusing on making yourself better. Stop pointing the finger at everybody else, expecting everybody to be perfect. Meanwhile, you're giving yourself all sorts of rope to be a cunt. But you're going around peppering everybody with your negativity and making all everybody else's fault. I completely agree with that. Very, very well said. All right, we got the quote of the week. It's by Hunter S. Thompson. It's football fans share a universal language that cuts across many cultured and many personality types. A serious football fan is never alone. We are legion, and football is often the only thing we have in common. And that's Hunter S. Thompson. That's a bad motherfucker right there. I just like that quote that he has about football. I think that he gets it. And I know that you're a big football fan, so I was like, I think the Toasty might appreciate that.
I absolutely do. And I love Hunter S. Thompson as well.
Where can everybody find you on the social medias and whatnot? We know you're on Big 105.9 in the mornings of the Paul Castronovo Show. Where can people find you online?
All of my social media is letter I, letter B, Toast. So I be Toast. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook I rarely go on. But yeah, Twitter and Instagram are my two main jams. And I also do a little TikTok sometimes here and there.
Oh, you're on the TikTok-y. How's that going, dude?
I'm more just to watch the TikTok, not post, but more just to watch, because goddamn, there's some good creativity on that platform.
Yeah, I'm still wrapping my head around it, but I have seen some shit where I'm just like, damn, dude, it's really funny. It's like, what was it? It was what was the first one that was kind of not Periscope? There was another one that was just like little 6-second clips that would kind of go over and over.
Oh, yeah, no, that was the one that Twitter had. That was Vine.
Vine, yeah, dude. But it seems like
Vine,
it's
dude.
got
Like
more.
How pissed are they that they shut that down?
I know,
right before
dude.
TikTok.
I was like,
damn.
Yeah, they got some legs on TikTok. It looks like that Vine was just hanging around for a little bit. So dude, thank you so much for hanging out with me, buddy. You're in the Mental Reps fam now. You're welcome on any time, any live event. You're welcome to. I'll open up a mic for you and a chair. And I appreciate you hanging out with me, buddy. I miss you, dog. I miss seeing you around campus.
Dude, it was an absolute pleasure. I'm so proud of you for what you are doing. And yeah, man, everyone share the podcast. Let all your friends know. Brian is a great, great guy. And thank you very much. Honored that you actually thought of me, that I was worthy enough to come on your podcast, and appreciate that. And yes, next time when the world gets back to normal and I got like a vaccine in me, you're doing a live Mental Reps, I will absolutely show up at the field. Hell yes. Get some shepherd's pie, get some pints, and just sit back and enjoy it, baby. Hell yes.
Fuck yeah, dude. I love it. All right, man. We'll keep in touch, and whenever that happens, we'll get you out there, and give my best to the wife. Let her know that we got another deep conversation in us in the future. And give her my best. And thanks again for coming on, brother. I appreciate you.
You got it, brother. Brian, take care, and all the best to you. Be well, man.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. See ya.
Hey, this is Toast from Big 1059 and the podcast, The Orange Bowl Boys. You're listening to the Mental Reps podcast with my man, Brian Wright. Keep your head on a motherfucking swivel, bitches.